Hello again, friends. I am your host, Covenant Ironface, and my partner, Tomato Head.
Tomato Head?
My partner, Drat Milk Caress, and we represent Team No. Sorry it's been a couple of weeks. I was out of town. We had a couple of things going. We meant to go see High Rise, but that didn't seem to come to our theater.
We never got to do reviews for Civil War. We also went to see Moneymaker, but we're not able to sit down and do a review for it. So we've been out for a little bit, but we want to pick right back up.
With Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Through the Looking Glass?
Looking Glass.
Learn to words. Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Might as well just hit straight up.
Jump right in!
Yeah,
All right.
let's do that.
Alice
Man, we are
through
so
the
out of practice.
We are so out of Alice Through the Looking Glass. Well, our story seems to take place... Now, I do not remember specifically the year in the real world that it was supposed to take place in the first movie. But it has been at least, 5 years?
They said 3.
No, 3 years since... 3 years since she started sailing. Essentially...
Yeah, and she set sail at the end of the first movie, so... 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. It's sometime in the future. And we see that Alice is actually a sea captain. Avoiding pirates. And this is in the real world, not in Wonderland. But she's been away from her home for a year on sail in China. A little bit of kind of pushy stuff between her story and family and everything that's happened while it's gone. It's kind of fluff. But basically, her home's in danger, and she's got to deal with a man who she didn't marry.
Yeah, the guy that she didn't marry in the first movie. That kind of seemed really forced in the way, because, I mean, it's like, oh, well, if the Empress of China likes my dress, well, I'm going to wear it in England and piss everybody off.
Yes.
I'm a super strong woman.
Anyways. And we find that during this whole thing going on, I can never remember the caterpillar/butterfly's name, but played by... Absalom, played by our dearly departed Alan Rickman. I miss that guy. While she's running around the mansion at this ball dealing with her family and this asshole, he shows up. And she follows him to Amir and goes into Wonderland, obviously, through the looking glass. Anyways, the story where we pick up in Wonderland is that the Hatter believes that his family, who is long dead, is alive. That's kind of the gist of it from something that he found. And he won't listen to anyone else about whether they're alive or not, so he's getting mad and sick, and they believe that Alice can help him. To not tell too much, they say that Alice needs to travel back in time and save his family.
Yeah, insert regular don't mess with time story, pretty much.
It's there's a few little nifty features here, but it's mostly from there. This story seems to fall flat, but I don't want to give away too much more, so you know, if you're going to see it, you can get the rest of it from there. But that is the basis for our story. The premise is that they want Alice to travel through time in Wonderland, which apparently time in Wonderland does not affect time in the real world. But that's another thing altogether.
Yeah, let's not get into the specifics. Main characters, of course, we've got Alice, same character, and same actress from the first one, and Time. Time is of course, Father Time type character, and he is the one who watches the grandfather clock as time rolls on. I really don't have a lot to say about this. I mean, a lot of people mentioned this after the first movie, and she did not seem very interested in what she was doing. Oh, the world is coming to an end. Oh dear. It really falls flat for her a lot. She does seem to do a little bit better in this movie than in the first one. There are some scenes where she does seem to be genuinely emotional. But I think the biggest time was when she was falling out of the sky at one time, and she just seemed not scared, but like disgusted. It's like, I'm falling to my dad. It just, I rarely dislike the actress or actor for what they do in the movie, and it's not always entirely their fault, but in this case, I do not like this lady. I don't think she's a very good actress. At least in these movies, she does not get into the emotion of what's going on, and therefore we, the audience, are not entertained and don't get emotional either.
What about the Time? What did you feel about him as a character?
Time seemed less of a villain and more of like a force of nature, which, you know, Time really is.
But most of the movie was spent with him the butt of jokes. Like, you would think a force of nature, not necessarily a god, but a power like this would at least be intelligent?
Yeah, but he's always, you know, alone and just with his minions. But, I mean, they have a good 2 or 3 minute segment or where they make every Time joke you can think of. And he's like, whatever, I've heard these before, blah, 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 blah. Like I said, he never seems like a villain to me. He seems like a force of nature, a being that's there to speed along the story. So I never really like or dislike this character.
He has nothing to invest in.
Exactly.
The story seems a lot about him and Time itself, and yet at the same time, he doesn't seem to play a big enough role. I think the only one that I'm going to jump in on here and interrupt is the Hatter, which is obviously one of our other main characters. And I actually found him play better in the first movie. He seemed less energetic, less fun, and less of all mad.
The White Queen seemed more mad than he did.
We'll get to that. But the Hatter was... He was supposed to be a very central point of this story, but he just was kind of there.
Yeah.
The occasional, I'm a Hatter joke. I'm making jokes. I'm being a little bit silly. This, I have to agree, this seems to be a better story overall in a lot of parts than the first one, but it's still a far cry from what we expect from Alice in Wonderland. It's just...
Well, I'll talk more about the Wonderland when we get to the scening. Of the minor characters, I mean, that's kind of the only thing you can say about them. They're all minor characters. Even the other villain that shows up later on even seems really superfluous, and it's just,
there doesn't seem to be an important villain in this movie either.
And the reason for the villain is beyond inane. I mean, you can kind of see that from being Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Underland. Remember, this is Underland, not Wonderland. Yeah, sorry. Everybody makes that joke.
The other characters are only there because we expected them from the last movie. They play no important part whatsoever other than to be like, I'm a character from Alice in Wonderland. Look at me.
We're here to help you, Alice, but we're not really doing anything.
Yeah, we're not doing anything. Not doing anything at all. And that felt like most of this movie was just the background. Every person, everything was just the background. All these characters that... I know even in Alice in Wonderland, like the books, the original animated, whatever, these may not have important parts, but they didn't even feel like they were filling roles of minor parts. I mean, hell, as soon as, I forgot his name again, stupid butterfly.
Absalom.
I can never remember that name, forgive me. But as soon as Alan Rickman does what he does, hey Alice, how's it going? Gone from the movie. That's it. He had, 2 lines? I mean, given what was going on at the time, that's one thing. But, you could have at least shown him, referenced him, but no. Poof, gone from the movie. Unimportant.
And it's kind of like the White Rabbit from the first one. Hey, by the way, Alice, here's a way back to Underland. Go now. Important things. Anyways, what I was about to say earlier about the Underland, this doesn't seem really crazy anymore. When you look at the new world, it just seems kind of like, oh, how do I describe this? It's very downplayed. You can see the English architecture. You can see everything being eccentric a little bit, but really not out there. Everything except for like the one scene, the cathedral for Time, looked absolutely phenomenal. And then you backwash that and put it right next to the rest of the town that a good chunk of this movie takes place in. It's like,
yeah, you don't get
might as well be back in the real world. Screw it.
You don't get that feeling of wonder and entertainment and
it kind of
crazy.
It kind of reminds me of the town from not Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the second one with Tim Burton and
it's a very dull backdrop. I found that the real world looked more entertaining, honestly. Like, at least there were people moving around and hustling and bustling. But no, this tiny little town that is a good part of it. There is some other places, but a good part of the movie takes place in this town in a couple of scenes, and it's just like, meh. And it's not even supposed to be a town. I mean, they're supposed to be, a grand castle and everything.
Yeah, a grand castle, a fortress, all this stuff is supposed to be in this really compact, really dull town, and
it's not.
It's not interesting.
It's so
Who cares?
boring.
Why? Anyways,
the only
that's
other
another thing I wanted to really complain about for that. The cathedral, like I said, and it is a cathedral for Time, and it looks so awesome, and juxtaposed to everything else, just.
I think it's one of the only places that are good. That and the Time Sea. The Time Sea I thought was a pretty cool concept. It could have been done better, but it actually looked good. If you say Time Sea, I could see that. I could imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say Wonderland, it's like, this is not Wonderland. This is not the world that we expect. Even the first movie, although we had, like I said, we had problems with the first movie, at least it had more of what you expect from Wonderland. It could have been done better that time as well, but it was more vibrant, more colorful, more crazy, more of the original.
Yeah, that fairly sums it up. Overall position on the movie, good, bad?
I did not find it very entertaining. There were parts, it gave me a few laughs, but I don't think it's worth going to see in the theaters. In fact, most people didn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, this was in the IMAX, and there was
20 people?
20 people, yeah, maybe. As far as I can say, this is not a bad movie, at least as far as the way it was made. It is a better story than the first one. This really did feel like an adventure, so it felt like, the characters learned something and, progressed, but the way it looks and, just so dull, I really can't recommend it. I don't hate this movie by any means, but it wasn't very entertaining. It was a good story, but it wasn't entertaining. So yeah, I won't recommend this for going to view at the theaters. I can't do that, sorry.
Yeah, if you got some extra cash when the DVD comes out, it might be worth sitting down and watching. Apparently the kids in the theater loved it more than we did, so...
Well, they're kids.
Yeah. Our next one that we're supposed to go try and see X-Men tomorrow.
Yeah, X-Men came out tonight as well, so we're gonna go and see how much of an abomination Apocalypse is.
Or a good movie. Do not go in with that mindset, sir.
I'm not talking about the movie, I'm talking about the character.
Oh, okay. But anyways, of course, if you always want to hear more rants, click the like button, and if you want to keep on following, click that subscribe button, and we will see you next time.
See ya.